And welcome everybody to Wisdom Wednesday. I'm happy to be back. Last week I was on vacation, so I didn't get to record live, but I'm back here today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Nellie Meadow, and I'm streaming to North Node Journeyist. Excited to be here with my good friend Fred, who is a business astrologer, writer, spiritual coach, mentor, and so much more. So Fred actually got me started being able to, do these lives with Restream with YouTube. So I feel fortunate that we connected. I've already been learning so much astrology with him. He's helping me with the tech, which isn't always so easy for me. And then also we're going to be talking about our summits. I'm really excited. He's quite the visionary. So Fred, thank you for joining today. I'm really excited for our talk. It's been so cool getting to know you and learn about your background in astrology. We resonate a lot. We have a lot of interesting things in our background that's similar, even before the spiritual world, right? So I'm going to give you the stage. You are a talk show host too, so you're used to the floor. So go ahead and just share a little bit about yourself for those people who don't know you yet.
Yeah, thanks for giving me this stage, Nelly. And I'm really very excited, and it's a pleasure to be here on this platform talking together with you. And of course, I'm a business astrologer. It's been like 2 years plus since I've started on this journey, and it's been ups and downs and uh, tumultuous journey for me. I started off with tarot, and that's where I
Okay.
journey into astrology. And I would say that astrology found me in the whole process of
Mhm.
healing and the whole process of finding myself as well. And I think that is something that we share.
Yes, we're
Yeah,
both also Libra, right? So you're Libra Sun, I'm Libra Moon, so that makes our connection quite easy. And yeah, we actually that's how I started too. I got into tarot first before I got into astrology. So for a few months I was doing tarot, and then somehow I don't know, astrology kind of just found me too. I think it's very similar.
yeah, it is. And I think what I like about business astrology is that it's unique. It's something that a lot of business owners are also looking for in terms of finding the answers to how their business is looking, how the business is doing, the financial and functional health of the company. I think this is something that's on a lot of entrepreneurs' mind these days, and I think that gives a very good insight into business astrology. I mean,
Hmm.
in
I
short, I
think it's
think what
super
I can
cool.
say
Yeah.
about business astrology is like the application of astrological principles, with the insights of the business world. It's a whole conglomerate of many things put together. That's a lot of things. We have business natal chart. It's like, I would say that every one of us has a birth chart, but when we look at companies, they also have a birth chart.
Hmm.
So how we look at a business birth chart, we take a company's birth date, time, and location. Usually, we will look at the official date that the entity has been established, usually through the emails, or it could be through the forms that they signed, or
Hmm.
the contracts and all that, or it could be through the first trade, the first day that the company received, the time and the date that the company receives the first paycheck from a
Right.
client. I think that could be a start of that particular official time that the company's been set up. So it really depends. And there are also another instances where I will take a company's IPO. That's where they have the first trade as well in the stock market. And that's where, we look at the, company's natal chart analysis. So the chart that I'm going to share later on is based on the official date of establishment through email, and that is what I got. And of course, there are other things that we look at, such as the time and the electional, basically the timing and the electional astrology part. It's where we look at the best time, the most auspicious time to set up the company. We look at the market industry, the trends of the industry, you name it,
So
team
fascinating.
dynamics, human resources. We look at team dynamics on the chart, like how the company, how the company's placement of the moon on the chart talks about its people, its employees, its customers, etc. We have branding and marketing talking about the first house, how the public views the company from outside in. And we have crisis management as well. We have investment and financial planning and strategic planning, everything, all of these put together.
That's really cool. So I don't think like you knew until last week that like my recent degree was in organizational psychology. So to me, it's actually really fascinating because I got the degree, then kind of put it on hold, and then got into spirituality. And so like as I'm listening to you talk, it's making me see that okay, maybe there is a way because I was going to come into these companies like with some coaching, but now I'm thinking, okay, well, you know what? I have this astrological lens. I can look at, teamwork and stability, human resources, all of that, like in a different way, because this lens gives them like a different tool. Consultants come into companies all the time, and analyze, what's working, what's not working. I had to do that for my degree. I actually used to do a podcast with a friend, and we talked about the workplace every single week, and we looked at different factors. So it's kind of fascinating being able to look at like the birth chart, and the timing is so key too. That's what you were talking about. And for those people I think that are newer to astrology, they don't realize like that birth time like sets a lot in motion. Knowing like you're rising, and then it's like that's where all the houses are. So just like we look at for people, you look at that for businesses too. I was thinking about that for my own companies, and I was like, I wonder if I know exactly the moment, because I have a couple different, like I have a tutoring company and I have like the coaching company, and I was just trying to figure out how would I recreate it, because you can also do this for small businesses, right? It doesn't have to be like this big organization. You could look at it for like a solopreneur or like a small two-person company, somebody who's launching an app or whatever, right?
Yeah, it is. And you can do that. The first thing I would look at is the rising Gemini, or rather, that's for the company, the rising sign
Right.
of the
Okay.
company. I'll look at the planets and all that. There tons of things to look at. So, first thing first, it's always about the planetary placements, the ascendants, the 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 essential dignities and debilities, of course, the lunar nodes, the accidental fortitudes,
Do you have to
debilities,
explain all this?
all
Because
these things,
I'm fairly familiar.
all these things that are like, I know I'm having this Virgo stellium
No,
thing
no.
going on with me, but yeah. So we have all these things that we look at, and we can look at smaller companies as well. And when we look at smaller companies, it plays the same way. I mean, it's the same principle altogether. Yeah.
No,
Yep.
it's super cool. What I was wondering is because like we're used to like our astrology jargon, right? Because we've been talking in any job, there's like certain
Yeah,
words.
yeah. That's
Do you have
a
to
hazard.
explain it? When you come into a company, like if you're hired as a consultant and you're analyzing, do you have to come in and like explain these terms like in the beginning or in your report? Do you explain it, and do you simplify the language so that way they have a better understanding, that like a layperson could understand
Yeah,
what all this
yeah.
means?
Of course, we will simplify it. Of course, I would simplify it. But I think the challenge here is the challenge here is about simplifying it, but also giving a evidence of what we
Mhm.
look at on the chart to back up our statements. And so the challenge here is weighing between what we tell the client, and
Mhm.
also tell them, hey, this is what we look at on the chart, at the same time, so they can get a sense of we're not just fishing something out of
Right.
nowhere.
You have to have the
So,
proof, right? It has to be
yeah,
valid, reliable, but at the same time, like not way over their heads because not
that
everybody
is
is
the
into
main challenge.
astrology.
That is the main challenge there, because it's a serious matter. Like, you're going to tell people that, hey, you have a company that is going to that has got to do with the issue of communication, for example, right? If your staff are not communicating well, and you're just going to tell them straight in the face, yep, but you got to show them on the chart, like, okay, this is what I see on the chart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this is the sign that it's in, the placement that it's in. This is what I see. So this is why I came to a conclusion that that you need to work on being on the ground more often, speaking to your employees, making sure that their welfares are taken care of,
Mm-hmm.
etc. So it's
Right,
a
right.
challenge
It
between
is a challenge.
weighing, yeah, it's a challenge weighing the balancing between using a lot of jargons and simplifying everything. I mean, that's astrology. Astrology is not for everyone. In the end of the day, it's it's something complicated. I don't want to dilute it as much as I don't want to seem as though I'm too simple.
Right, right.
Because
It's a balance, right? It's like that line. So that's
yeah,
interesting. Like,
it's a challenge. Yeah. So not everyone is into astrology because of the jargons, and I can totally understand
but
that.
if you explain in a user-friendly way, right? Like if you're looking at like
Yeah.
the third house, which is a communication house, or maybe you're
Yeah.
looking at Gemini or maybe Libra energy with how they're interacting, you can explain it that way. Maybe you don't have to go deep into it, but if there's a certain planet, whatever, like Jupiter is there. Let's say Jupiter's in the third house. Oh, there's big
Mhm.
expansion and communication, and you could talk about transits. You could talk about the birth chart. You could talk about the transits. So there's a lot. It's more than one talk with them, right? Like this is kind of like an ongoing conversation, I would think.
Yep. Yep. It is. Yeah.
Okay,
Totally. And it can go up to an hour or past that. Yeah.
gotcha. All right, I wanted to I just looked over at the comments, so we have a few people. Thank you for joining us. I know not everybody is here that can be here because of the time of day. So thank you, Tanya, for listening. Awesome. And Yunez, I think that's your podcast partner, right? Um, right. So she's with us too. I think somebody else, but yeah, feel free to chime in, everybody, like with questions and comments. If we can't get to them, during our talk, we'll respond later. So yeah, let's take a look at the chart. So you have a company that you can analyze. So we're going to use them kind of like as a guinea pig, just to showcase what you talk about. And we're doing a very brief, talk, because anybody who's ever had an analysis of a birth chart or transits, you can't do it justice in 20 minutes. Like it's like a series of sessions. So we'll
Yeah.
kind of talk about like what are the big things that you look at. So we're going to put this on the screen. Hopefully you guys can see it. And even if you can't tell all of it, just kind of like listen, because I think it's interesting, because a lot of time we're so focused on us, but then also like, what about all these organizations too? So I think it's super cool. I haven't had a talk like this on the group, so I'm excited to be able to do this here. So here is a chart that Fred shared with me for a company that he looked at. So I'm going to give him the floor and let him share, what he notices on this chart. And then anybody at home who's curious, if you have a question about something that you see or anything, just, feel free to comment and we'll see if we can get to you. So yeah, Fred, what do you notice that's kind of interesting on this one?
I think the first thing is to ignore the black moonlight lift there on the chart. Yep. We are going to start with the rising sign, which is Gemini here. And Gemini is what we call mutable air. So when we look at the ascendant, it's the operating system of the company.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's the operating system, we know this Gemini as mutable air. What this means is it's versatile and communicative and also intellectually driven to some extent, Gemini. And for a company to be mutable air, it has some potential in networking, marketing, and even disseminating information. And of course, this company, how others perceive this company is it is dynamic, it's adaptable, and it's also constantly evolving. That's some Gemini trait there. And we know this company as a rising Gemini. That's the, you know, that's for the ascendant part. That is by default how people will view this company, and it's also its potential. So when we look at the sun, which is placed in the 11th house, the
Yeah, I
sun
see it.
actually represents the, yeah, if you can indicate there, the sun is in the 11th house. The sun is in Aries. and it is exalted in Aries, and the ruler of the third house, which is Leo, is placed in the 11th, which is the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So the sun represents the CEO, the company leader, and it tells a lot about the leader and the leadership. So this is a company that emphasizes a lot on win, 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 and thinking quick, adapt, adapt, adapt. There's no time to waste. You got to move, or you're just gonna remain stuck. All right. And one extreme that the CEO can move towards is to the culture that he or she builds can become lively and enthusiastic and even efficient, but it tend to lack that human empathy. It could, lack that empathy when it comes to slowing down, really slowing down, because Aries is about speed, is about being blunt, it's about moving fast,
Mm-hmm.
and just, yeah, it's a fire sign, cardinal fire. So
Right.
when slowing down, that is going to be the company's challenge, and that would be the leader's challenge in truly understanding his or her employees or his or her clients. And as it's placed in the 11th house, we can say that it's team oriented, it's community spirited, but I think it's just scratching the surface. And because of the Aries fast moving speed and directness, it has no patience for slower workers. And so for people who tend to work in this company, they will feel a sense of loss if they are too slow to learn. Yeah.
Right. It
So,
makes sense, because I always think about the 11th house as
yeah,
serving the collective, right,
yeah,
and kind of doing well for all. And you're right. The nature of Aries isn't going to be so patient, and you can get lost in the shuffle if you're not picking up the skills. Whether it's a training, whatever it happens to be, they might not stick around. And we've seen, like, with companies so much, that there's such a high turnover. People are leaving. People are, this has been a trend, I think, since the pandemic, for sure. So yeah, I could see that. And also the 29th is the critical degree. I have that in my own chart, like with my son. And I see that's interesting here, that the 29th degree here is the sun sign for this company. So, like,
yeah.
what does that mean with Aries? How would you interpret that?
When when the sun is in the 29th degree or anywhere near the cusp, it has strong energy,
Hmm.
and the expression of its Ariesness, how should I say Ariesness? Yeah, its expression of its Ariesness and bluntness, and its its trait as an Aries,
Hmm.
or the sun's characteristics will be even stronger. And
Right.
so, from what I understand or from what I experience from the leader, is that he or she seems to have that kind of trait and attribute during the interaction. So it's like a do or die kind of
Hmm.
thing. Yeah. So it's pretty much intense as well.
Yes.
And speaking of intensity, I gotta go into the moon, because the moon is placed in Scorpio, the sign of Scorpio, in the
Mhm.
sixth house.
Yep.
And when moon is in Scorpio, it's actually a detriment. And that caught my attention because
Mhm.
a detriment planet is something which is not very good. Yeah. In my own opinion, because I mean, that's from the traditional astrology's perspective. The ruler of Scorpio is in the 10th, which is Mars.
Mhm.
So whatever that it does to its employees will be out in the open. Everyone can see that.
Mhm.
And the moon represents the people, the moon represents the employees, the staff, the customers, the market demands, and the morale of the employees. And of course, it's intense because it's in Scorpio. It speaks a lot about the work environment, um, which is filled with tension, and there's a lot of drama going on, like I've said earlier on with you privately. And of course, the employees may experience some high levels of stress due to that because of some significant personal growth of that. What am I talking? They may have experienced certain stress, but at the same time, that could be, good for their professional growth and their personal growth. Of course, if they survive to that day, if they survive long enough, that is. Um, and of course, not forgetting the Mars influence in the 10th house, it suggests some form of um, some form of intensity towards achieving the company's goals, achieving the company's vision. So a lot of it is pretty much goal centric, and
Very active, right? Because when you have Mars energy, it's like very passion, very driven, just
very
get up and
driven,
go.
very ambitious. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, putting myself as an employee in their shoes, it's gonna feel very, very pressurizing, and the moon is quincunx the sun. If some of you can see that on the chart, you see that the sun is the CEO and the moon is
Hmm.
quincunx the sun. That shows a lot about how at odds the employees are with the leader, with the leadership and the management and the employees. That's some rupture there. It's like some form of irritant or annoyance that's going on, or some form of indifference between the sun and the moon. So
Yeah,
that's
we
what I
haven't we haven't talked about that aspect on the group, the quincunx. I know that's like a challenging one. And is it because they're both in the 29 degrees? Is it that? I know it's also like how much it's like is it 135 or degrees apart, something like that, or
it's
155? I don't remember the
150
exact
degrees.
degrees. But is
Yeah,
it
it's
because
100.
of the same degree, like in that critical degree? Is that why that happens to work out in the chart?
Well, for quincunx, it's 150 degrees apart. So as
150.
long as there is 150 degrees apart between both planets, that's a quincunx aspect.
Okay.
Um, I mean, some might say that it's a minor aspect. It's also it can be quite a thing, when it comes to the dynamic between the boss and the employee. So it speaks some volume in a way. So that caught my concern as well, because I was advising the leader to be more, I would say, more focused on the ground to understand what's going on with the people, with the staff, with the employees, and so on. Because Moon in Scorpio is something that you don't want to mess with, because that's a detriment. It's something to work on. And
Hmm.
moreover, what this company face as a challenge is also another thing, which is the Mercury conjunction with Uranus in the 12th. And when a planet is placed in the 12th house, there is secrets going on. There
Hmm.
is what we call challenges that's hidden and nobody knows about it. Or it could be certain passive aggressiveness. I don't know. But when Mercury is in the 12th, it shows certain communication that's not going out in the open.
Hmm.
There's a lot of secrets, and there's a lot of behind the scenes communication going on. And when it's conjunct Uranus, what happens is that there are new ideas, there's innovative ideas, there's new unconventional way of doing things, sure, but it's not seeing the light of the day, probably because there are some factors like, there are some concerns
Yeah.
of, staff vocalizing these ideas, but the leader just like pushed it away or suppressed it for not being good enough. I don't know. It could be that. It could be also that others are not seeing the potential of how the ideas would work, and therefore they remain shelved, and that's it. Or three, nobody gives a damn about these ideas, or how it you know therefore it's never get implemented. Yeah. So
Yeah, that's really interesting. I do notice the North Node is in that 12th house, and the North Node is it's been really what got me very interested in astrology. So, what would you say that you noticed for this company with the North Node being there?
well, the North Node emphasizes some importance of tapping into hidden resources, and when it comes to the 12th house, it's about the unconscious, the collective unconscious.
Hmm.
And the North Node represents future growth of the company. And, imagine if you can tap into the resource of bringing the unconscious into the conscious.
Right.
It's about self awareness. It's about how everyone in the company can be self aware of what's going on, and how the leader is to be more self-aware of what he or she is doing to the, not just to the work, not just to the company, but to the rest of the people, the staff included, the company's clients, prospects, etc. If they know what they're doing and they can treat everyone well, which is one of the the key thing. And also not just treating people well, but to communicate. They have a problem communicating. And one thing that I suggested was to create the SOP, a very, very task-based, structured uh, process to formalize the whole entire function of the company, so that no one gets confused, no one gets messed ahead of
Right.
messed up, whatever. I'm kind of lost of words tonight. I don't know why, but
Okay. I get, basically,
maybe
so
it's just my
everybody's on the
anxiety. Maybe
same
it's just my
page.
anxiety, but I'm just so overly excited for this. It's like
It's awesome. It's kind of like the Virgo energy, right? Like it's like getting a plan so everybody's on the same page. Everybody understands how things operate because when things are clear, it's easier. But like right, because when we're talking 12th house, there is what's hidden and we don't know. And some people there's like miscommunication, misunderstanding, and it's just putting everything into the light, right? I feel like it's almost like Pluto energy. They need Pluto to like shine a light on like what's going on so we're not like in the shadows.
yeah, you can say that. Yeah. And it's a lot that this company has to go through in terms of being being aware of the dynamics of how
Mhm.
people are working in between. And that's the whole issue that they are facing. And unfortunately, they do not see the importance of creating a structured process. I don't know why, but maybe because of the cardinal fire that
Mhm.
is in the leadership. um, God knows what happened, but
Maybe they just didn't have enough grounding, right? Like you can have all
not
these
enough.
ideas and passion, but like they have to make
Yeah,
things actually happen. And like,
yeah.
like you need that. So maybe there just wasn't that like stability piece. You can have the
I chose this.
drive, but you have to make
I
it
chose
like actually
this.
stick.
Yeah, I chose this chart because it's interesting, and it's something that is a unique case, which is also a failed case. Um, Usually, people will listen, but the thing is, when it comes to certain people, when the advice is being given or the suggestions being given, they chose to play their own way,
Hmm.
because there's a lot of 10th house energy. But if you notice the 10th house energy here, you see Mars being in the sign of Pisces, which is, yeah, it's like go, 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 but
Hmm.
it's not so aggressive at the end of the day. But ignore that. But you see Venus, you see the exalted Venus there, you see the
Hmm.
Neptune, you see
Hmm.
Jupiter. That's a whole lot of what I call the abundant energy. Like, oh, we're gonna have a lot of dreams. We are gonna have a lot of vision. It tells me that this company dreams a lot. They
Right.
want to do this. They want
Yeah.
to do that. They want to fulfill this. They want to scale. 100 times,
But it's in
whatever.
Pisces, but it's the 10th house is in Pisces. That's different than if it was in Taurus, right? They would maybe been okay if
Exactly.
it was like in Taurus or Virgo or Capricorn. But right, it's just like, yeah, because Pisces, it's like kind of it's so dreamy, and you're between the realms. So it's yeah, I could see why. It's like, yes, it's great having all these planets there, having that stellium, but it's also key to know what that stellium is in, because it makes a huge difference. And I think for those people like newer to astrology, they don't realize all the players, right, all the pieces, and how the houses interact with the planets and the zodiac. So yeah, that's a significant issue, like for this company. Yeah, I can see that's why they didn't do well.
They're not very grounded.
Right.
Like if you see the chart, you have whole lot of planets on the top side of the chart, like on
Mm-hmm.
top. They're pretty much out there, right? They're pretty much getting the attention that they want, but you see that on the bottom part of the chart, there's totally like nothing.
Empty.
Nothing.
Lots of empty
It's like
houses, right? Especially second
empty
house,
house.
right? You want the second house to have something there, because that's like the money, the value, the possessions, the self-worth. And there's
Well,
nothing there.
yeah, yeah, but if you look at the second house, it's Cancer, right?
So
It's
true. It's
occupied by
nurturing.
Cancer,
Right.
and you're gonna look at the moon, which is detrimented. The moon
Right.
is a detriment, and the ruler is the second house, Cancer. So, the second house is ruled by the moon, which is in the sixth. It's a detriment, and you need the workers, you need the clients, you need the customers to get the money in. And if your workers are not motivated, if your workers do not hear or do not feel that they're heard,
Put us back so everybody can see
yeah,
us again.
what are you gonna get? Yeah, it's fun, isn't it?
That's definitely, it's interesting for sure, because we don't think about. I never really thought about the business astrology, and so I think that's really fascinating. And if maybe companies aren't willing to listen to things, with the traditional consulting, maybe this astrological lens, might convince them, especially if they're a person who might follow spirituality. If a key
Yeah.
player, I think, in one of these organizations is more spiritual, they might be
Yeah.
able to convince like the higher ups, to get this analysis. So in your part of the world, it looks like this is happening. I don't know if this is happening in the US. I'd be really curious to see. It'd be really cool, because I'd love to be a part of doing something like that.
I'm curious too. I think that would be quite cool to know. But in this part of the world, the clients I'm getting are people who are more curious, like for business owners who are curious to know how the business is doing. Like they're more into forecasts. Like they're interested in knowing like how the business is doing in
Right.
months to come. And that's a lot of zodiacal releasing to do for that kind of consultation. So
Yeah,
it,
because
it
they
really
want
depends.
they want to know like how you can get like a transit report, so they can get that for like their company too, and take a look at what does the summer look like, for the next few months, and like what can they expect, and like we were all hearing about the eclipse, that was such a big thing. I'm sure companies were
Yep.
also examining like what was going to happen to their company during like an eclipse energy. We have eclipses again in the fall, so what's going to happen? So that might be interesting for companies to be able to look at that and see like what's going to happen, because a company is the people, and that's like what I learned in my degree. It's like the people. So if the people aren't happy, the people aren't interacting well, they're not communicating, the leader's a bully, all these different kinds of things aren't going to go well, and so yeah, I think companies can see this, so they can see like in an inception, like what was it like when you started, and like what's happening in the sky right now, and like how can we mitigate, right? You can't change what's happening. What's in the sky is in the sky, but it's like that awareness can have you act differently, right? And kind of like pre-plan, like if you know a tornado is coming, hurricane, something,
Yeah.
like you can do something. So I'm guessing you must have these kind of conversations with him too. Like you can look ahead and see like, okay, this is coming up. What do you think you'll put in place to like help your employees or your processes and so on?
Yeah. And it's like being the weatherman here, right? Yeah.
It's important.
Pretty.
You know what? People reach out to me. It's kind of like with tarot. Somebody wants to know in real time what's going on. We pull out the cards and we can see it. But I think it's also like looking at those transits, because, like, yes, you can see your birth chart. You could see, like, here's what happened at the time of inception. So you understand things. but like in real time, like what are you doing too with what's changing, because things are always changing in our lives, cosmically it's changing. So yeah, I think it's super cool. So yeah, thank you for talking with me and sharing your background. And if anybody is interested in that kind of evaluation, even if it's like a small company, reach out to Fred. Like you could just hear his analysis. Like he knows like what to take a look at and what the houses say and what do the planets and what the rulers are. And it's so interesting. It's really fascinating. So I'm glad you were able to share that with us. Gave us something different than just our usual. So that was cool.
You're most welcome, Nelly. I'm happy to share my contact. You can contact me at, you can go to my website, fredastrology.com, or you can go to my medium.com/ at Frederick the Astrologer. That's where I post all my articles there. You can go ahead and read them. And of course, you can contact me through these web pages.
Right. And we can also attach it to in the group. I know I've shared your articles. That's how I found you. I found you on an astrology group and I read one of your articles. I'm like, oh, this is really, I think it was about death, something related to death in the astrology chart. I'm like, oh, that's really
Yeah.
fascinating. So, it's like people that taboo things that people don't want to talk about, but, we need to like know about it. Like we need to be, aware of everything, I feel. So I think that's good. And your writing is very good because it's very user friendly. You explain it in a way that even if you're not like the biggest expert in astrology, like things will make sense and you understand like what's going on. You take a look ahead. So I think that's super cool. And people get to know you too, because we were going to also talk a little bit about the summit. So this was your idea, Fred, about doing this. So we're going to do this summer, the Mystical Insight Summit in August. So we were talking about the powerful portal day of 8/8, August 8th. So we're going to be doing that in the morning, Eastern time here, depending on where everybody else is. It'll be different time of day. But yeah, I figure we could talk about that just for a few minutes, just to give people a little bit of background so they know like what's coming up with that. And then in the coming weeks, we'll be like sharing more, releasing some different videos, talking about the different speakers we're going to have and all that. So it's super cool. So yeah, if you want to just share just, a couple minutes about the summit, that would be awesome.
I think the aim of the summit is to have everyone coming together to view, to listen to the distinguished speakers that we have on our list. And we're just going to learn. We're just going to learn. We're just going to experience different speakers' style of presenting their own work, especially for, the coming summit would be the one on astrology. So the topic will be more focused on astrology. And so we will have speakers who are experts in astrology coming up to talk about their own subject matter. And then we're aiming 5 speakers. So if any one of you guys who like to share your stuff and to promote your programs, our offerings at the end of each segment, you can go to Nelly, go to
Yeah.
Nelly, or go
Yeah,
to
I have a list. I have a list of people that are interested. We're just trying to make sure it works for everybody's schedule because it's a little far out. But yeah, so if it sounds like something that would be of interest, and astrology is something that you've been doing for a period of time, I would say probably not a newbie, because we want somebody who's established, been doing things with astrology for a while, is having a coaching program or an astrology school, or I don't know, whatever kind of offering. People do different kinds of like Patreons and different things. Whatever it is that you are offering, as a for sale, right? Like your service. That's what we're looking for. So yeah, this is going to be the first of our many summits, because we also talked about doing something with tarot, numerology. There's so many different areas like in the spiritual world. But because like I think Fred and I both love astrology so much, and that's like the nature of our community, like it just makes sense. Like we could talk about astrology. We could have an astrology summit every month, because there's so much to talk about, because there's so many different areas of astrology. So yeah, so we'll be like as we're kind of getting everything in order here, we'll be contacting people and sharing more information. The summit is free, so we didn't mention that. So it's a free summit. If you sign up for somebody with their program, obviously that'll be something after the summit, and there will be whatever that fee is, to work with that individual will be part of their program. But just, to participate, we're going to have it on Zoom. And I think we were looking at about a 3-hour time window, starting around, it's not set in stone, but we were talking about like starting at 10 a.m. Eastern, running to about like 1:30. We'll kind of like play it by ear and see. But I'm excited. I think this is so fun. I've been a part of different summits as a participant, like for years, going to different ones with spirituality and astrology and entrepreneurship, whatever, so many different things, motivational speaking. So it's kind of cool, like being on the other end. So yeah, Fred and I are really excited to do this and offer this opportunity and get to showcase different people, like with their gifts, and teach more people astrology, which is, I think, like something that's important to both of us, like getting people involved, getting you to understand yourself, getting you to understand others, understanding your soul purpose. I think astrology does that. So yeah, we'll just stay tuned. There'll be like an event tab on the group. There'll be things posted, pretty soon every week. Spread the love, like tell people about the group. We're growing. There's a lot of people. Yeah, we're growing fast. We have like, I think, a little over 1,400 members. So yeah, just spread the love, tell people about it, and yeah, we appreciate it.
Yep, that's all.
Yeah, that's all. I know. I was saying let's try to keep us to 40 minutes. I'm looking at the time. We're at 41 minutes. So I'm like, I think we did pretty well. So I think, yeah, we got a couple comments. Thanks everybody for joining. And yeah, if you have anything else that comes up as you're watching on replay, just do the hashtag replay. Like, share, and subscribe my YouTube channel. I have to do more to grow it. I'm used to growing Facebook groups. I've been doing that for 3 years. I am not used to having to grow YouTube. So yes, I have enough of a following with thousands of people otherwise, and I'm realizing like it takes a while to get this YouTube to grow. So I know there's more people that will be a part of it. So if you haven't subscribed, if you know other people that will be a part of it, otherwise you can't be part of the live conversation because there's no other way we can do this, but YouTube for right now. So feel free to share the page. And Fred, you were just one more time, if you want to just share like the best ways for people to get a hold of you, and then we'll also link it. So how can people reach you just for a conversation?
Well, I'm just gonna put it in the comment section on Facebook, but of course you can hop on to fredastrology.com. That's my website, and of course I have a medium.com article page. You can go to medium.com/@Frederick the Astrologer and view my articles there. I will be posting once or twice every week, so do stay tuned for more articles and updates that's going on Medium. I am officially writing on Medium now. Yeah. So
I used to too. I used to too, and I have not written about astrology. So maybe that's my next venture. I was writing on Medium. I was writing on LinkedIn for a period of time, and I stopped because I didn't think people were reading as much. But I think just the act of writing it was like really good for me. So I hope to be able to do that. So maybe I think you're motivating me to write again. Yeah, I mean, I journal, I do that, and sometimes I write things, and I write a lot of posts every day. But not like sitting down for that article. So I will.
I think it's better to write there than to write it on your website because nobody goes to the website nowadays.
Oh yeah, I don't even do the website. I don't even link to my website because I don't know that everybody even goes to websites anymore. So awesome. Well, Fred, thank you for having this conversation with me. I learned a lot. I hope everybody watching at home got to learn about like the analysis of a company, and what's involved, because that's so key. Because a lot of companies don't make it. That's the fact of the matter. A lot of businesses fail. So it's like, if you could learn, what you can do to make your company successful with this astrology lens, I think that's so powerful. So yeah, I would say if anybody watching is curious and you want your company analyzed, reach out to Fred. I haven't done it before. I mean, I could probably try, but I mean, you have the experience and you've done it, but that might be something I might want to think about too. Like with my IO background in astrology, like I might, guinea pig, if somebody wants a guinea pig evaluation, I don't know, maybe I'll try. It might be kind of fun. We'll see.
Yeah, we can talk about it offline.
Right, for sure. All right, everybody, have a good Wisdom Wednesday. Enjoy your day, and looking forward to next week. It's the summer solstice tomorrow, full moon coming up, Ash Chanel with the
Yep.
Cosmic Retail will be here tomorrow, talking about the full moon in Capricorn. So lots of excitement ahead. So I hope you have a great night, Fred. And yeah, we'll be in touch soon and share more about